Nalini Yamuna Jaya Jaya Nalini Yamuna Jaya Jaya Ishigata Shibata Radha Ishigata Ishigata Ila Kailo Shinanda Nanda Jaya Naga Kanyaga Jaya Dijapati Jaya Naga Kanyaga Bhakti Teja Hara Pailo Govinda Chara Bhakti Teja Hara Pailo Govinda Chara Shira Samandala Jaya Jaya Radha Sham Shira Samandala Jaya Jaya Radha Sham Jaya Jaya Rasa Lila Sava Manora Jaya Jaya Rasa Lila Sava Manora Jaya Jaya Jvala Rasa Sava Rasa Sa Jaya Jaya Jvala Rasa Sava Rasa Sa Marakiya Bhave Jaha Bhajete Pracha Marakiya Bhave Jaha Bhajete Pracha Krishna dasa kohe anama sankirtan.
Dina Krishna dasa kohe nama sankirtan.
Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan.
Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan.
Kalindi Jamuna Jaya Jaya Mahava.
Kalindi Yamuna Jaya Jaya Mahava.
Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan.
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 Shri Vrajdham Mahim Nam Nitya Ki Jai. Nectar and glories of Shri Vrindavan Dham. There's a lot of devotees in Vrindavan this year. Maybe you're in touch with devotees there, but everyone tells me there's more than usual. First year after the COVID reduction, So many devotees have come to Vrindavan from all over the world, and what is it now, 7:30, 10:30? At this very moment, there are tens of thousands of devotees gathered at the foot of Govardhan at Radha Kund, getting ready for a very special event. Srila Prabhupada, to my knowledge, does not mention it at all, but it's customary in Raj. And many devotees in our movement also participate in an event called what is it called? Midnight bathing in Radha Kund, at least in English. Midnight bathing in Radha Kund. Some of you have bathed in Radha Kund at midnight on Radhastami? 1 or 2 or 3 or 4? No, you're not there. Well, what can we say? We could read something. Many things. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshura Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Napitam Yena Bhutale Shvayam Rupa Kadamaya Datishva Manantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vikam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Padijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Shakamritam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinavando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostite Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishamanu Sudere Pranamami Hari Vanchakalpapurvyasya Viva Sindhu Devasya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. In a short time, we don't have much time to read very much, but we'll try to remind ourselves of Radha Kund. Yes. Let's see. Many of you have read? How many of you have read Nectar of Instruction or Sri Upadeshamrita? Is that up or not? Up higher and higher and higher. Not quite sure if we read it or not in reality. We've gone through it, huh? Words, we've gone through the words, but have we really read it? Have we really understood Rupa Goswami's? In this little book you could say the essence of all instructions on bhakti, on devotion. So there's only 11 verses, and it's sometimes said to be like the A to Z of devotional service. You know what that means, A to Z? You know what that means?
Everything.
Is that everything there? Right. The whole alphabet. Very precise. Now, of course, to understand, expansion is there. How to understand, how to apply the stages, the step by step, to come to the highest platform. And in this last, I'll just read some of the last two verses of this amazing little book, which I remember when Srila Prabhupada, it first came out in the end of 1975, and I remember when we were in Mayapur in 1976, it was the first time pretty much that most of the devotees had ever seen it, this little book. It was very exciting, and in that very excited mood, we all went off to Vrindavan after Mayapur, and one of the first targets was Radhakund. And, maybe 500 strapping young boys and girls from the Western world arrived in Radhakund, and before you knew it, there was a, what do you call it? Avalanche? Boom! Diving in, doing all kinds of things inside the Kund. Fighting, legs up, showing your expertise of water sports, whatever you want to call it. All kinds of, say, rather whimsical behavior. I should say somewhat innocent, childlike. Went back to the temple that evening, and Srila Prabhupada was inquiring maybe about the parikrama to Radhakund. And what happened? When he heard that, no more. No more bathing in Radhakund. Finished. So is that a lifetime instruction? It was taken kind of like that, but not necessarily. Again, these things need some qualification. Even on, you could say, the external level, or to speak of the internal. Rupa Goswami, in this Nectar of Instruction, where there are 11 verses, sometimes we tend to jump to the last 3 verses, where great glorification is there, or read something. However, one who has actually attained prema, pure love of Krishna, is superior to one who is, those who've realized their spiritual identity, no more material attachments. They may take to devotional service, but they haven't attained prema. One's engaged in sadhana bhakti. Even bhava bhakti, but one has not attained. Bhava means ecstatic emotions as a result of pure devotional service and becoming conscious of Krishna, connected to Krishna. But prema, or pure love, has not yet arisen. So here Rupa Goswami says, however, one who has attained prema, pure love of Krishna, is superior to him, or one who has advanced in devotional service. The gopis are exalted above all the advanced devotees because they are always totally dependent upon Sri Krishna, the transcendental coward boy. When we say totally dependent, it doesn't mean, when there's a problem we call Krishna, help me. There also. Totally dependent means they have zero other There's nothing in their lives except for Krishna. It's totally. It's not just conditionally. It's totally. Makes sense? We have many things in our hearts, right? Other than Krishna, you could say. Indirectly everything's Krishna, but directly speaking, we have other things. Who then will not... Her Kund. Among the gopis, Srimati Radharani is the most dear to Krishna. Her Kund, or lake, is as profoundly dear to Lord Krishna as the most beloved of the gopis. It's as dear to Krishna as the lake. There are different commentaries on why. Jiva Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti and others give different, the same result, but slightly different angles of why. They're all true. We'll come to that later. Who then will not reside at Radhakund? What are you doing here? You should all immediately you get your visas if you need one and fly off to India, to Radhakund, right? And reside there. So say, who then will not reside at Radhakund, the holiest place in the universe? And, there's a little qualification here. In a spiritual body surcharged with ecstatic devotional feelings, that's called aprakrita bhava. What does that mean?
Without matter?
Pardon?
Without matter?
Yeah, beyond material aprakrita. That is not visible, not experienced as long as we're on the bodily platform of life of any kind. As long as one, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said, as long as you have even a single material desire. Anyone here have a single material desire? Only one. You're doing pretty good. You're doing pretty good there. Only one left. All right.
1 million.
Yeah, we're seeing prakat. That means visible to material senses. Huh? Now, prakat is not visible to material senses. So, if you've got a spiritual body, well, you could say in absolute sense, yes, we all. But right now, are we in a spiritual body? Your body spiritual?
I don't think so.
You don't think so.
Don't feel like
Don't think too much. Yes, there's a little qualification. In a spiritual body surcharged with ecstatic devotional feelings, render loving service to the divine couple, Shishi Radha Govinda, who perform their Astakaliya Leela, their eternal eightfold daily pastimes. Indeed, those who execute devotional service on the banks of Radhakund are the most fortunate people in the universe. Can we do that? We could, in one sense, say, yes, I'm the most fortunate person in the universe. But what does it really mean? Just by going there? How much is the bus or the rickshaw to Radhakund from Vrindavan? I haven't been for a few years. It's probably gone up in price since COVID started. The prices have risen, I'd imagine.
50 to 100 rupees.
On the rickshaw or in the bus?
On the rickshaw.
On the rickshaw, that's not bad. If you share a rickshaw,
Oh, but wait.
you'd have 10 of you in one rickshaw.
No, more than that. He told me more than that.
We haven't got time, unfortunately, to read the purport. Let's read the next verse. You have to read that in your own time. Very important book. But you do have to start, by the way, with the preface. You call it preface or preface? What do they say in Ireland?
Yes.
That we go for first. Huh?
Both, I think.
Both. They're both spoken. Preface. Preface, I think, is the more traditional way of saying it. That means it's kind of that which goes before the text, to help to understand, the mood in which to read the text. very important to read it, actually. It's very succinct. Oh, there clearly says everyone must become a Goswami before you can become a pure devotee. Goswami is not an order of life, it's a state of consciousness. Of the many objects of favoured delight and of all the lovable damsels of Brajabhumi, Srimati Radharani is certainly the most treasured object of Krishna's love. And in every respect her divine Kund is described by great sages as similarly dear to him. Undoubtedly Radha Kund is very rarely attained, even by the great devotees. Why is it rarely attained? Even by the great devotees. Even Narada Muni, Shukadeva Goswami, they all hanker for this opportunity. But why? Maybe Shukadeva is a little different. But Narada Muni and many great sages, the four Kumar, they hanker for it. But why they can't attain it? What's the difficulty? If we can go there on a rickshaw, why can't he go there on his Veena? Musical vibration. Surely he's much more qualified than we are.
You said it's the state of consciousness.
So what's the problem there? I mean, your state of consciousness qualifies you and his doesn't. You've been to Radha-Kund. What's the difference? What is the, let's say Radha-Kund is the...
might bring him back to Godhead, but he wants to still, might bring him back to Godhead, but he wants to still worship Krishna by bringing him back more people.
More what?
He's talking about Narada Muni.
Oh, Narada Muni, yeah, that's another thing. Why can't Narada Muni take part in Radha-Kund? Isn't he a Acharya? Practically? Didn't he compile the Narada Pancharatriki Shastras, which we follow in our daily worship? Isn't he the personification of, the transcendental preacher? Isn't he? Why can't he take a bath in Radha-Kund? What's the difficulty? Sure, he can get a gamcha. What's the difficulty? So what is in essence what is Radha-Kund? Is it a body of water?
It's Radharani.
We may have heard the story of how Radha-Kund was formed originally. That wonderful pastime in the Krishna book. Who was that demon that Krishna killed?
Like a bull. He was a bull. No?
He was a bull.
Yes.
He killed the demon. He was a bullasura. A bullasura. What was his name? Aristasura, the bull demon, who was terrorizing Braj, and Krishna whacked him, slammed into the ground, slammed him like a wet cloth, right? Thrashing into the ground to leave that dead body. Well, that was a wonderful pastime, but well, the gopis were a little bit. They had another impression, wasn't it? When Krishna was trying to, let's say, approach them with his amorous pastime, what was their response? No, keep away. Huh? Huh? You're contaminated, right? You've committed a great sin, huh? What have you done? You killed a bull. The bull is Dharma, representative of religion, personification. But he's not a bull. He was a demon, cheater. Nonetheless, he's a bull. They wouldn't accept it. So you have to purify. If you want to associate with us, Krishna, what do you have to do? All the holy rivers and holy kunds of the universe. Just a few in India, a few in France. Yeah, but it's holy kund down the bottom, it must be. I'm sure there's some Radha-Kund water was put in that lake down there, I'll bet. I'll bet. Ganga, I'm sure all the holy waters that you could manage. Perhaps the 108 when they did the 1008, wasn't it? Sahasra Tirtha Jal, that Abhishek many years ago. I'm sure they're all down there. Looks a bit murky, but I'm sure it's So what did Krishna do? Okay, what did he do? What did he do? He bought a, which airline? He caught an airline, didn't he? You know, around the universe, you know, ticket. What did he do?
Dug a hole.
He dug a hole. He got a spade and dug a hole. That was clever. How did he dig a hole? Huh?
With his foot.
With his heel, huh?
Yes.
Whacked and what? But so what? What does that mean? He dug a hole. Is that it? Is that the end of it?
He asked to come the old rivers to come.
He called. Is that right? He dug a hole with his who? With his heel. And all the holy places. He called all the holy places, all the holy rivers and kunds of the universe to appear in there. And they all came, huh? And they all entered that bit bigger than just. It's not quite big. Krishna can do amazing things. He can't be measured. He made a nice big area, and all the holy rivers and kunds appeared in their personified forms as well, and the lake was split up. So, now I'm pure. Ready? But you're not pure. What piety have you girls done? You have to do some purifying too, so what did they do?
Started digging
What with?
the bangles.
Yeah, they broke their bangles and were chiseling away in the ground like this to make a big kun, millions of them. And they made a big. Okay, so now you have to bring all the holy waters of the universe too. If you want, you can, I can let the water from my kun into yours, if you wish, into your. But they were nothing of that. No, that water, you bathed in that water is dirty. They weren't convinced it was, and then they all personified appeared, so they would have. So what did they do? Yeah, they decided they'll bring the water from Manasigan. One by one, they're all going buckets and pot, these clay, probably on their heads, carrying. Eventually it was like going on and on and on, and still not going on, and eventually they agreed. Boom, midnight. Whether it's today or not, actually, most of the scriptures state it's not today. Today is not the day by scriptural injunction. There are some scriptures that say it is, but many of them say it's not. I think it's sometime in February on another occasion. But whatever, because anyway, the Kund was formed. Radha Kund, and of course Radharani bathed in that Kund, and that became the most dear to Krishna. That Kund is, you could say, liquid prema, Radha prema. The love of Radha for Krishna, her love is Krishna prema, you could say. It's the love, the pure love of Radharani. And that Kund simply reminds Krishna totally of every single quality that you know of, conceive of, whatever that Srimati Radharani has. Just absorb Krishna when he thinks of Radha. He's absolutely absorbing Radharani. If one simply bathes once within those holy waters, one's pure love of Krishna is fully aroused. Just once. So, why? Because Narada Muni is not in Madhurya Bhav. Only those in Madhurya Bhav can actually enter into Radha. No one else. You may seemingly, externally walk in that, whatever, apricot manifestation, whatever you want to call it. But to actually enter into Radha Kund in the sense of these statements of Rupa Goswami, just give an example here. How many of you have bathed in Radha Kund? You put your hands up again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And how many of you have awoken your pure love of Krishna immediately upon bathing? Yes? No? Nobody? No, Shimon?
I didn't bathe.
Pardon?
I didn't bathe.
You didn't bathe, and you didn't bathe. You went there, but you didn't.
Yeah.
Sundar?
No.
No. Interesting. In the right state of consciousness, with the, let's say, blessings of one's superiors, one's authorities, in the right state of consciousness, it can be, you could say, a very valuable act of devotion. Practicing in the right state of consciousness with deep respect. Not that we're on that spontaneous level of pure love, in the mood of Madhurya, which is the mood of the gopis, it's not the mood of Narada Muni. Any amount of reverence and awe does not, although it's like we worship Radha Govinda Madhava, in the mood of reverence. Those who are very fortunate to perform daily worship, you should be in the mood of reverence. Prabhupada said we're worshipping the deities of Radha Krishna, but we're basically worshipping in the mood of Narada Muni. And he's in the mood of reverential devotional service, Aishvarya Bhav. Even the mood of Yasodamai, the mood of the Gopas, Radha Kunda is not their pleasure ground, not their playground. This is reserved specifically for Madhurya Ras. And who's the personification, the Rasacharya of Madhurya? Raghunath Das Goswami, who resides eternally on the banks of Radha Kund. If you go there, it's probably the most prominent, you were there? Most prominent feature of around the Kund, right? Which we can see. We can't really see the Kund. If you read the descriptions of the actual Radha Kund, it's, well, what can you say? We don't have time to read it, but it's like, it's inconceivable. It's not just like a squarish kind of a pond with some steps going up the side. That's like, I don't know what it's like. It's like describing a house as a cup of water on the table. Certainly a cup of water is on the table and it's in the house, but that's not a very extensive description of the house, is it? What's your house like? A cup of water on the table. That's all it is. No, it's just a tip of an iceberg or whatever you want to call it, I mean, it's so opulent. Everything's made of jewels and all unlimited colours we don't even know about, and so many wonderful arrangements. Each one of the Astas Sakis has their own, sections, also Radha Kund. Anyway, I can't remember. It's just incredible description of what Radha Kund actually is. But we're not quite seeing that. Not quite seeing it. This is all very well and wonderful, and by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas, when we have the chance to associate with devotees. Now, one's supposed to serve there in the association or the guidance of Brajbasi. Well, what is a Brajbasi? Is it someone who happens to live in the area? Anyone can live in the area in one sense, can't they? Many kinds of persons live in the area. It doesn't entirely, there's something there, of course there is, to even be there, even it may be mixed. But a real Brajbasi is not just someone who lives there, is he? Or she, specifically. What's a real Brajbasi? Come on, you've been to Vrindavan.
It's a pure devotee.
Well, to be a pure devotee, for sure. One who's absorbed like this, in this mood. These are the Brajbasis. Real Brajbasis. The pure devotees of the Lord. There were 6 Goswamis. These are the real Brajbasis. Others will be all practicing and becoming. But that's the real association, under their guidance, under their direction. Now we're going to read something. Conversation with Prabhupada, 1976. Prabhupada, every devotee, they must follow the rules and regulations, that's all. Devotee, and engage in practical service to Krishna? Prabhupada, yes. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Aikya. Ara na Koriya Mani Asha. Has he taken order from Guru Maharaj that I am going to jump over Radha Kund? Why does he go? This is devotee one in early days, 76. Why was going there and residing there, one devotee, Prabhupada said. Why does he go? Daily singing Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chittite Aranakarya. Why should he desire like that? You want to associate with the Babajis, called Babajis of Radhakund. Gopal Krishna, there are some devotees who always want Prabhupada. They are not devotees, rascals. Don't say some devotees. Devotees will hear Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chittete Korya Aikya Arana Karya Mane. Achyutananda. They also wear the Radhakund Mati, the tilak. Prabhupada. There's no harm, but they should understand what is Radhakund and how to deal with Radhakund. Raghunath Das Goswami showed how to live in Radhakund. We follow Radhakund, the mood of Raghunath Das? Are we following? Well, maybe a long way behind, but at a far distance. What is the mood of Raghunath Das? Well, of course, he's in Kunju. The mood of Madhurya. But what's his mood? In terms of externally speaking.
Was totally renounced.
Totally renounced in the material world. Okay, what else? I mean, in terms of practicality. Because that's what we can refer to. You can say anything you like, but we're on that practical level, so we follow that level. So what else was he doing?
Just paying obeisances to devotees 3,000 times and deities.
2,000 times a day to devotees, 1,000 times to the deities. What does that mean? You'd be pretty busy if you did that every day. What are you doing, Vidura? I'm following Raghunath Das Goswami. I'm on 1,455 obeisances to devotees. I've got another 545 to go. But it's 11 o'clock at night, Prabhu. I've got to wake all these devotees up.
There's not enough devotees in Mayapur.
Well, there are. I mean, you can see there's lots of flies and ants and dogs and birds and beasts and whatever else you've got there. They're all, you have to see them in the mood of, Raghunath. Anyone who entered in that area, he considered them as worshipable, practically speaking. Embrace them, offer his respects to them, to the Lord constantly. He's completely absorbed in just seeing it for what it really is. What else was he doing?
He was reciting, I think, 2 hours a day. He would tell about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. 2 to 3 hours
he would share because he had a lot of association with Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri. He would share it with the other Goswamis, others who were there. What else was he doing?
He was just drinking a cup of buttermilk.
Yeah, every now and again he would take a little, we could go on and on about Raghunath, that's not the point. Drinking a little cup of leaf cup of buttermilk once every day or two. That's all he would ever consume. Was he sleeping? Sometimes. Maybe 1 hour now and again. One every few days, 1 hour, 1.5 hours every few days. He was chanting minimum a lakh on his mouth. Minimum. And 64 rounds minimum. So many things. Circumambulating. So many things he was doing. Was performing bhajans. So that's the mood. You can't imitate that. We have to follow in the footsteps. That's why first Sanatana Goswami, then Rupa Goswami, and like that, they're acharyas. Sankhya Puvaka Namagana Natibhika Lavasani Krito. He was circumambulating Radhakund, falling down, making a mark. You see them do this? Circumambulation. Up, then they bow down. Put a stone, make a mark, like that, all the way around Radhakund. Not only counted holy names, but offering obeisances so many times. That is Radhakund. He's so much vairagya he showed, renunciation. He can take bath in Radhakund. First of all, do this like Raghunath Das Goswami. Prabhupada's statement at that time. Let's go on. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur tells us that Radhakund is always invisible to mortal eyes. Invisible. What do we see? according to the mercy of their Guru and Lord Chaitanya, there may be some, little sample. Right? You get a little spray or a little sample. And Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in Sri Govinda Lilamrita tells us that only those on the threshold of bhava. Anyone on the threshold of bhava?
JANANANDA Prabhu.
Pardon?
JANANANDA Prabhu.
You're on the threshold of bhava?
He's temple president.
Is he? He's on the threshold of bhava. Only those on the threshold of bhava and who have the appropriate bhava, means the emotion, mood. It's a very high, used in this case, it's the stage just before prema. Those on the threshold of bhava and who have the appropriate bhava can see Radhakund as it is. Others see it as an ordinary place. We don't necessarily, with all reverence, we don't see it as an ordinary place. We see it as the highest abode, the dearest abode to Sri Krishna, most worshipable by the Vaishnavas. We see it like that, but we don't see it, if you know what I mean. We have the mood like that. It should be a mood. Great respect. Not we just sit around there. How's it going? What's the news? How's your wife? God, it's so hot around here. What's for lunch today? Whew. Oh, go look over there. Look at that one. It's not so easy as it sounds. Perhaps you're being tested by pandas. From pandas, what they are? Huh?
Pandas, yeah.
Huh?
Pandas.
Yeah. What are they doing?
They're always asking something.
They're hassling you all from every angle, right? Dakshin. Money, huh?
Radhakund Seva.
They say, we'll curse you if you don't die, we'll curse you.
At all the kids with tilak also. Or
The kids with the tilak, someone else with a leaf cup, for something to Radhakund, and whatever, all kinds of things going on there. From left, they're sitting there trying to be in some good consciousness, and this one, leave me alone. You get angry sometimes. It's just a test to show that we're not really, there. We're still somewhere else. We're trying, it's a test on the path. To remain undisturbed in the midst of, it's not, and that's the first verse practically of the nectar instruction practically. You can't even pass the first verse. We think we can, apply the 11th verse. Okay. Won't have time to go over this one. I'll just move on to another aspect. I mean, it's wonderful in the association of devotees. I'll tell you the best thing to do there, besides trying to always be very respectful. I found this, and maybe it's a little bit, I don't know if it's offensive or not. I find the best thing is you just keep doing kirtan. Don't stop. We went to Nandagram one time, and there was so many hassles. And I think I was leading the kirtan, hundreds and hundreds of devotees on the parikrama. And we just didn't stop from it, we just chanted louder and louder and louder and louder, and just all the way through the temple, all the way to the hill. Through the temple, didn't stop for a minute, even bowing down. It was a second and a Hare, oh, Hare Krishna, chanting kirtan, And out we went, It was like, it was really quite an ecstatic experience, actually. And even the pandas were kind of like, they were kind of laughing, almost. After all, they are devotees under the surface, no matter what their motivation may be, that's for sure. Here's a lecture by Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, 1932. What's the date today? 70. Oh, this is on 16th of October, 1932, at Radhakund. He said, I have taken bath in Radhakund. I took a dip in Radhakund. I am a lump of flesh and blood. I am my wife's maintainer. I'm a sannyasi. I'm a brahmana. Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, thinking any of these ways disqualifies one to bathe in Radhakund. What to speak of such materialistic conceptions, if we are filled with the attitude of awe and reverence, we also cannot bathe in Radhakund. Yet we have to have awe and reverence. We have to tread the path of Sri Radha's maidservants without imitating them, so we follow. Even if we are in the mood of awe and reverence, we follow the residents of Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada, our real Vrijbasis, our real acharyas. By following their instructions faithfully, we tread in the path of Sri Radha's maidservants without imitating them. By regarding ordinary water as sacred and the gross material body as the self, one can neither see nor bathe in Radhakund. Sri Radhakund is always invisible to mortal eyes, nor can any mortal ever bathe in the same. If one's consciousness is covered by upadis, what are upadis?
Designation?
Pardon?
Designation?
Yeah, false designations. False, like we think we're the body. Some of us think we're men, some of us think we're women. Right? Maybe. Some of us think we're French, some of us think we're men, husbands, wives, etc. Just like those who still had a somewhat degree of upadhi, even in the rasa dance, were held back. By being held back by their family members, and going to the rasa dance, that is, they became so intensely determined to go that all of their upadhis were burnt. As it says their bodies were burnt, it means all of their false upadhis were completely obliterated. And they became eligible, but initially they were not. If one's conscience is covered by upadhis when he bathes in Radhakund, he may as well bathe a bag of bones. He's just bathing a bag of bones. Some of that was from a lecture and statements. We cannot attain Brajbas without the mercy of the Brajbasis. But why should they speak to us? How will we see them with material eyes? Because we are covered with pride and envy. They will not listen to what we say. Because we have no attachment for them, they do not speak to us. Why will the Brajbasis engage in eternal spiritual pastimes speak to us? They say, you are searching for material pleasure. Has Krishna become a material object for your pleasure? One cannot know about Braj except through subservience to Sri Rupa Manjari and Sri Rati Manjari. When we receive the mercy of Prabhu Nityananda, on that very day we will understand the mercy of Sri Rupa Manjari and Sri Rati Manjari. Otherwise, this goes on. This is also a lecture of Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj, same lecture. Bhakite, in quotes, Bhakite Kriyamanani Gunai Kame Sarvasha. The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activity. Actuality, they're carried out by the three modes of nature. Another lecture in 1932, also in October. Only the most fortunate live with pure hearts in the most sanctified place, Sri Radhakund, and worship Krishna 24 hours a day. Sri Radhakund is the highest section of Goloka, the most confidential place in the spiritual sky, and the only shelter for devotees on the platform of Madhurya Ras. The point is that one must forsake materialistic conceptions. After attaining the aprakrit body of the gopis, aprakrit living entities render aprakrit service to the aprakrit. In other words, you have to be totally on the non-material, on the spiritual platform. Sri Radha, to aprakrit Sri Radha in aprakrit Braj. As the aprakrit maidservants of Sri Radha in the transcendental groves on the banks of the aprakrit Radhakund. That's the real bathing in Radhakund. Totally on the transcendental platform at every stage. So we follow such great for us. That's the meaning of, residing on the banks of Radhakund under the direction and the association of the Rajbasis, the eternal associates, following the guidelines or the instructions of these eternal associates of the Lord. It is clear from all this that we are talking not so much about just physical residence on the banks of Radhakund. We are talking about a very high level of consciousness and state of heart. In fact, this is just a comment, it's not from Bhaktisiddhanta. Srila Prabhupada tells us Vrindavan is revealed in the heart of the sincere devotee. In reality, it is not on any map, nor is it part of any country. It's not on, you see it on the map. What does it do? It reminds us, if we approach it in the right state of mind, it helps us to come to Smaranadas, mood of remembrance. And previous verses describe how we can go from different stages of hearing Shravanadas and so on, up to remembrance, and then further on and on and on, until we're on a higher level of being able to actually have the state of consciousness. It's like Prabhupada gives the example. If you want to enter the sun, how do you enter the sun?
Clean fire.
Water over fire.
By fire, you have to be fire. If we enter Radhakund, which is apricot, we also have to be on that platform. Otherwise, we're simply following the footsteps of the eternal associates of the Lord. If you go there, you have all respects. If you bathe with the blessings of your spiritual masters, or whatever, let it be. But otherwise, we go there all with most respect, and by following their footsteps, if they're in this mood of apricot, then we may also, by their mercy, by the mercy of Nityananda. And how do we get the mercy of Nityananda?
Using the spiritual master.
Yeah, what did Srila Prabhupada? Let's look at one instant. In 1936, was it? Or 33, I can't remember, when Prabhupada was in Vrindavan. He was in Radhakund with his spiritual master. And he received a few instructions, direct instructions. Do you remember what they are?
Print books.
If ever you get money, print books. Now that instruction was given at Radhakund of all places. You think he talked to him about, intimate pastimes of, Madhurya Ras in Radhakund or something? No, he said, if ever you get money, print books. And Prabhupada took that as his life's mission. Everything else developed from that. But to print books and to preach Krishna consciousness. So that is following in the footsteps of the eternal associates of not just Vrindavan, but of Radhakund. So this is the method. How we get Nityananda's mercy, because without Nityananda's mercy, you can't get Radharani's mercy. He may not appear to be in the same bhav, but he's the gateway to all the rasas. He's the gateway. You have to get his mercy. And he gives his mercy too. As you said, those who serve his devotees, but specifically it is described, he gives his mercy to those who preach, to the Jagais and the Madhais. Are you a Jagai? Madhais. Their eyes may be sometimes mad looking. Jagais and Madhais, those who have fallen in a very conditioned state of life. By giving Krishna consciousness, or trying to, one gets the mercy of Nityananda. This is what is most dear to Radharani. And what is most dear to Radharani is most dear to Krishna. Isn't it? Yes. What else can you say? Hare Krishna. So it's 8:05. And we haven't got time to say anymore or read anymore. So you can understand it's the most holy place, and we don't criticize anyone, whatever anyone does, but we should bear in mind, remember the real nature, at least remember what little we know of the real nature of Radhakund, and be very, very careful, conscious. Opportunity to become qualified when we go there. If the right mood is there, there's an opportunity to maybe sometime at some point, who knows, become qualified to actually be able to serve Radhakund. You can serve Radhakund now by trying to serve the spiritual master's mission. In that sense, this is the way that we become qualified. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Shri Shri Radha Kund ki
Jai.
Gaur Prem. So right now I think what's the time in Vrindavan now? How many hours ahead are they?
3 hours and a half.
3.5, so it'll be 11:35 now then. I did one time, it was like a wave of ISKCON devotees, we were on Harinam, 500 of us going around and round and round for hours on Harinam. Then we kind of converged in on Radha Kund, and we're all on the banks of Radha Kund. The saving grace is keep chanting. On Brajmandal Parikrama, you keep chanting, chanting, chanting. Just keep chanting. And no matter what else, as we see, mantra touch chidram. There may be many faults. As everything becomes chidram, everything may be 40 chidram, everything becomes nischidram. In that sense, if we keep chanting, chanting, chanting. So even if you don't know, if you do go there for when their consequences may be, keep chanting. No gossip, no nonsense. Just keep chanting. You don't know what's going on. And this is the place of Janavama, and this is where Raghunath Das did this, and this is this, and this is where Nityananda Prabhu was performing, and this is, going round and round, and it's like, your head's going all over the place. Just keep chanting, keep chanting, keep chanting. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. If you haven't got the Upadeshamrita or Nectar of Instruction, it is one of the basic books Prabhupada said we should read. Essential book on the Bhakti Shastri. This is one of the 4 books. Nectar of Instruction. What are the other 3? Who knows what they are?
Nectar of Devotion.
Nectar of Devotion. Bhagavad Gita.
Upanishad.
Ishapanisha. 4 basic ones.